Did it work?
Nope. I still remember it.
Guess you have to review it now, don't you?
Yep.
Hello, I'm Plutoburns and welcome to Eagleland. I always knew that Badminton Girl would suck. I first encountered it years ago, way before this show was even a twinkle in my eye. But I knew at first glance that it would suck. The phrase, "don't judge a book by its cover," doesn't really apply to manga. As long as the cover was drawn by the main artist, you can glean a lot about a manga from its cover. This cover screams, half-hearted, overly shiny romance! Also, their dead eyes seem to be trying to swallow my soul. Well, sucks to be them, I already sold half of it. I never actually read Badminton Girl all those years ago, but for some reason the cover image just stuck in my head. So when I did make this show, it immediately sprang to mind as review material. And I read it for the show, and I was surprised. It was way worse than I thought. I was expecting the generic shoujo style of bad, with all the complaints being essentially the hallmarks of the genre and not worth getting worked up about. But it's also horrendously drawn, to the point that I'm having trouble believing this was actually published. It's one thing for the characters to not entirely line up with the backgrounds. It's quite another to put literal separation lines around them. And this is a sports-themed shoujo, so we get some Prince of Tennis-style pseudo-sports mixed into this bucket of tripe. It's not knock someone into the bleachers with a tennis ball levels, but it has the same problems that Prince of Tennis had. The score is more determined by dramatic weight than the play actually visible in the panels, and the main character is capable of preposterous feats. The author wants to have sports, but doesn't think real sports is dramatic enough. Which a day after the Super Bowl I can say is complete horse malarkey. But first, let's can the plot of this turducken. The cover also happens to conveniently star the main cast, Eiko, Biko, Seiko, and Spinach. Biko has been playing badminton her whole life and is the best friend of Eiko. Seiko is the male version of Biko, but he abandoned badminton because it got boring to the chagrin of Spinach. And naturally, Eiko is a complete sports dunce who wants to someday be as good at sports as her friend. But of course, it turns out that Eiko is really good at badminton and she gets paired with her best friend and they bond and oh my god! Show of hands, who hasn't seen this underdog sports story before? No one thought so! Okay, just because this plotline is more overdone than this steak, that doesn't mean you can't do anything with it. You can make the idiot savant at sports thing really interesting, or failing at that, you can have a good side cast with fun distractions, going for more of a slice of life feel. Or you can do neither and surround your badminton Jesus with completely irrelevant characters that barely have names. You see these three? They don't matter. I'm surprised more authors don't go for the sucking option. It seems much easier. And now the story is locked into this dimwit Eiko and how she is awesome at badminton. Of the 6 chapters of this manga, 5 of them feature a badminton game. Chapter 1 has her filling in for one of the girls I have already forgotten existed. Chapter 2 has a piss-poor attempt at drama with a fight over practice space with a volleyball club, which is of course decided with a badminton match officially sanctioned by the tosser of a principal. Said principal is in only 2 panels and is called Baldy on both of his appearances. Yes, that is irrelevant, but I bring it up for a rant that I have planned for later. Chapter 3 miraculously does not feature a badminton match, but so blatantly telegraphs that it is setting up a more dramatic match that I almost counted it. Said super dramatic character defining matchup piddles around uninterestingly for the next 2 chapters. The last chapter has the 4 characters I have nicknamed in a match because it needed to feel climactic. It had something to do with getting Seiko back into badminton. The 2 male characters' presence is awkward. This isn't really a romance, and there's nothing going on between Eiko and Seiko, though it's hinted at. I get why Spinach is here. He's Seiko's best friend and sounding board, but Seiko could be extracted from this story quite easily. It's odd, because he is a pop-in character for most of the chapters. He'll watch the match of the week and say something foreshadowy. So when Chapter 6 focuses on him, it actually felt like it was paying something off. His story is that he was a badminton player but quit. Spinach isn't sure why, but by the end of the chapter, Seiko reveals that he left badminton because he ran out of good opponents and got bored. Oh, that's just so sad. You know what? Hold on, this needs something. This moment needs dramatic musical accompaniment. Dude, you are such a brat. When I ran out of people who could beat me in Smash Bros. Brawl, I went to conventions. Got my butt handed to me. If you can't find good opponents, you aren't looking hard enough. If you're wondering, I'm not an expert at badminton. I played it in high school and it was pretty fun. But even my unqualified behind knows that this manga is selling elephant snot. It doesn't get to Prince of Tennis levels of bad, but a half-power nutshot is still gonna knock you down. The main problem is that they have to make Eiko an idiot savant at badminton. So she is incredibly clumsy and slow, but according to the manga, she has watched so many badminton games that she is capable of accurately predicting where people will hit next. So she gets to shots even though she is slower than a drowsy sloth with cement shoes. Fun fact, the birdie in badminton has been clocked going at over 200 miles per hour. So I call bullcrap. It is utter bollocks that she can catch up to the birdie just because she has magical foresight powers. But I have honestly just been stalling. The biggest problem is hands down the art. This manga is ugly, in ways that it shouldn't be as a professionally produced work. I mean, it has all the usual problems of shoujo, with all the girls looking exactly the same except for their hair, but it's just really ugly in sadly memorable ways. Still remember it. First off, their eyes are too big. Don't give me any, it's manga, the eyes are supposed to be big. If I, a dedicated manga reader, am noticing the size of the eyes, they are too damn big. They look like they are trying to swallow their cheeks. There's a lot of these close-up shots, too. I'd tell you to turn down your wide-angle lens, but this was drawn. Flat, static images should not give me a sense of claustrophobia. And the art is just sloppy. These lines are just too thick. It's established practice in most drawing mediums that the lines around people should be as thin as possible. Even for jokey drawings, these lines are appalling. But the worst, absolute worst offender is this character. See this? This is a dude. He is Biko's dad, and he is stupid, jokey, embarrassing, and almost always drawn in this awful comedy style. But for a couple panels, we get to see him serious. This is not how you draw an adult male! Remember that bald principal I mentioned? He was a joke character who was only featured in 2 tiny panels, and he looked like a guy. This is unacceptable. This is a man, even this is a man. This is a human being as sculpted by an alien using Play-Doh. Badminton Girl is stupid and harmless, but it makes me angry. It makes me angry that this manga is taking up space in my head, using up brain cells. I want those brain cells back. Screw the info dump. The name of the author is in the credits. That's more than this festering Todger deserves. I'm Plutoburns and this is Eagleland. Heavens to Murgatroyd Cthulhu Fatagan!